question me about thing and be cool. Exactly who's I, the homie, do you? Cause I've been rapping for a minute now. Used to walk around dead, but I'm living now. I'm just being myself. And evidently people gon' hate when you come, don't worry about it, homie, do you? Cause I've been rapping for a minute now. Used to walk around dead, but I'm living now. I'm just being myself. And evidently people gon' hate when you coming with a different sound.
What's up, my tokers, jokers, and smokers? Welcome back to another edition of the Daily Chronicles, y'all. I'm here with my dude, Steve Arthur George, founder of CHRONIclez, all the way from Lisbon, Portugal, man. What's going on, brother? Looking like we're getting your camera figured out there. It'll pop back, huh? There it is. There it is. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show.
I am doing well, my friend. Thank you so much for the beautiful intro there. It's a pleasure to be here.
Football on the playground, you know what I'm saying? Like fun times, way before the tattoos and heartbreak stories and whatnot. But I saw you in Nashville before you went to Portugal, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
In Nashville for most of the time. There was never I never thought of really moving out to Portugal, but it wasn't until I came to one of our other high school friends of ours and got to see a little bit of the land and understand what this country was all about. And 5.5 years later, I'm still here, so it's a great spot.
Now, Portugal's always been somewhere that I've really wanted to go. How different do you think that America is in cannabis from Portugal? What do they kind of like do different? I know there's a lot of differences, but like if a few stuck out to you, like what are a few of the differences?
For sure. No, one of the first things I noticed when I got out here to Portugal, and this is generally a European thing from what I've seen. It's changing more now, but still, a lot of hash consumption. So this was the first thing I noticed, which was definitely a big difference from, what we see in the U.S. and what I know you and I saw for many years, right? So, so that was the first kind of difference, right? And then also along with that, whether it's flower or hash, it's often mixed with tobacco, which known as your classic spliff, right?
Right.
And this is what you see a lot of out here in Europe and in Portugal as well. So those are two of the first things that I noticed, and obviously the hash kind of goes with that because when rolling a joint or something out and smoking hash socially, then you need some other substance in there to help the burn, let's say, right? Which then tends to be tobacco out here. So those are consumption in the community and organize events and other things and have the same beliefs and kind of attitude towards cannabis.
Like I'm curious, you're like, this is what we're gonna have in Portugal. Do you guys have dispos there?
It's not really like a dispensary back in the U.S. I still see it as something different. So no, you still have, you don't have that yet. But yeah, being back in Michigan, no, it's one thing that I definitely noticed when I was back just for, a few weeks there in May was pricing, compared to when I was just back in August last year, when I saw you, and then, so like we're talking a little more than 6 months later.
Yeah.
And, prices, seem to drop quite a bit, right? So there seems to be a lot of supply, which then I can imagine is, difficult for a lot of producers and, especially for smaller producers to then try to compete with some of the larger producers. So yeah, and I think maybe that has to do with that, I believe it's uncapped, licensing back home, right? So
depends on how you go about it, but yeah.
Like I said, all these things, like I said, again, differ state to state. And yeah, it's interesting, as as Portugal moves forward, only medical right now, but, they're already talking about adult use in Germany as well. And yeah, as it moves forward, it'll be really interesting to see the differences, right? Obviously already some big differences between the medical approach that they've had, but I'm wondering if that will be the same when it comes to adult use as well.
It's it starts out with education first, and with that, medical wouldn't be a thing if the education wasn't there, and that's the point. And alongside that education, I think that we should do two things. One, have proper example. You're like, okay, well, what's the difference between a sativa and an indica? Everybody asks that. A lot of people argue it, but professionals will go on to tell you, okay, it really only matters in how they're grown. Some people, say that sativas make them, into couch, or sativa, are uplifting, and then indicas are for like in the couch, and vice versa. There's not enough evidence there to prove that. However, when you want to talk terpenes and effects, it's a whole different story. So my very long-winded point here is this, with that education becomes the tolerance that is necessary to lead to adult use. And that's my point. That's good. You're on the right track. I don't say that, because we're not that far ahead. And I feel like as soon as Europe catches on, it's just going to be wildfire. You know what I mean? It was Thailand that just became legal?
They've been doing a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, they've been making some recent changes.
I got a buddy, he was there filming stuff for his YouTube, and he goes, so is Sue like, well, I fucking hope so. You know what I mean? Like, that would be sweet. I wish I could have been there. The neon lights hanging, making everything glow, very ambient, and then just striking up a joint in freedom. I'm good with that. But so between Michigan and Portugal, Steve, if you had to pick one and kind of lean towards, Portugal,
like regulation wise, or like actual flowers, or both.
Let's actually answer both of those. I like
heard in our own consumption over the years, and just the understanding of the plant that like there's medical benefits to the plant, right? And one of my concerns is with how the states have done this is that, like, even with Michigan, for example, is like, what is the medical program in Michigan now, right? Like, so, like, that's the one thing I kind of have hope for, I guess, here in Europe, with the model of how they've kind of done the medical program with the national health regulators and dispensed it through the pharmacy. I know that also complicates things, and it involves a lot of people, and there's a lot of money going around as well. But like I said, like, I'm trying to find a way where, like, how do those people actually get served? Those people that don't understand the plant, right? And don't understand cannabis and are afraid of cannabis and have a bunch of stigma around cannabis, but at the same time, it could be their friend or family member or someone else that could benefit from it, right? If they had a little bit more knowledge and education or support from someone, moving forward, regardless of what it is. How do we cannabis and always been a part of it and have a lot of time and effort and knowledge that they put into it that have now helped other people, but then also at the same time, how do we get to that other group of people, right? Like I said, we went to terpenes for a second there. I know you hit on, so I really like to get in and try to find some stuff. I'm a big fan of some limonene, as well as some myrcene as well. I like when I can find that if I'm something more sedative, right? Well, in Portugal here, Rodney, it's still like, for someone who's a consumer that is not, that doesn't have still flower even available in the pharmacy here in Portugal at this time. But yeah, then it's like, you're kind of you're left to the illicit market, right? Where back in Michigan, as you know, you can stores hundreds of different, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's and like I said, it goes back to the whole medical and the education to get medical on the board to begin with. And then that builds a tolerance once you get so much education. And I say tolerance is in like not being tolerant to something, but tolerance is in like easing into a society, that it should have been there to begin with. Let's be honest, probably would have been better. But the truth is you can't just, instantly change something. That never works. It's either people love it's the shock. It's a lot for some people. In 8 years, 1980 would have been 50 years ago. Think about that. Okay.
Yep.
Now think about, that being said, think about when the DARE created. was like the 70s. You see what I'm saying? That led into the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. Okay. And then we graduated.
Right.
So I don't know if it, you know, I don't really, we wore the shirt. You
Right.
know, I thought that like at any point in time, if I took a puff of, you know, I'm going to call it, you know, giggle grass, you shouldn't, you know, fear for smoking a joint. No one's ever died from it. Like they made it sound like you're going to like, you know, smell it and die. And there was, you know, a lot of anxiety with that, you know, but I think that a lot of your naysayers will listen to professional results when they're presented to them, you know, especially more so. And this is the interesting fact from Portugal, you know. Now, let's kick it overseas real quick and go to Lisbon, Portugal. Tell me a little bit about what you do at Kaya and kind of how that helps with the people around you, because I've been hearing a lot of great things, man.
I spent a little over 3 years with Tilray, which is one of the large Canadian producers, and I got to help get that first product into the market here in Portugal, and then also spent a lot of time as the business to business manager in Europe. So got to do a lot of some of the first larger transactions of medical cannabis to different countries like Germany and Israel and in Spain. So that was, you know, I got this first kind of insight. This was just when the market was starting, 2017, 2018.
Right.
Here in Europe, you know, the medical market, Germany kind of being the lead as far as the consumption side of things or patient side of things, where Portugal being the more market on the cultivation and manufacturing side of things. So
Right.
interesting little setup, and involved in some of the first movement, if you will, of the cannabis market here in Portugal. So then last year I left Tilray after they went through a merger. I decided to go my own way and start advising, because at that time I had also started to see that there was multiple other companies, you know, some foreign, but also a lot of Portuguese companies as
Right.
well, looking to get involved with the opportunity, right, to set up either cultivation or manufacturing. And you know, I wanted to be available as an independent advisor at the time to help some of these other companies as well, right, and navigate some of the stuff that I had the opportunity to be involved with at the beginning. So that's what I've been up to for the last more or less year.
Oh, I feel that, man. I feel that. Like it's, you know, however, inside of that, we'll call it the time warp. You know what I mean? You tend to have like those days where it's just like some days just won't end, man. You know what it is, and it's just like holy shit. Are you able to look back from where you're at now and feel accomplished? And that's really a question that I, you know, put on the table for you now. Like, can you look back and just feel accomplished from where you're at now?
For sure, for sure. I'm proud of myself, man. Proud of a lot of things that I've done, especially since I left Hazlitt long ago, right? So it's been a hell of a journey, but yeah, you know, like I said, I'm proud and got to do some really interesting things when I was with Tilray, and like I said, getting a dried flower, the first dried flower into the market, you know, for patients here in Portugal was I don't know, still unbelievable to this day. I kind of still have to pinch myself sometimes, you know. So yeah, you know, I've got to do a lot of cool stuff, and like I said, I think there's a lot of good stuff to come as well. So no, man, I feel good.
Hell yeah, man. That's what I want to hear. But you know, all scripted questions aside, all things written down, that's not really what I wanted to ask you. I mean, that sounds good and it helps tell the story, but what I really want to know, how did it help your self-esteem changing in life? Because I feel if you're able to, some random stranger that you were nice to 15 years ago could have been like, this dude is the best thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? Do you see it doing, obviously it did a lot to your self-esteem, you know, as it per it would, but do you feel that it has like kind of, what is the, you know, how do you explain that? You know, I guess take us through it, man. You know,
Yeah, you know, it's been a long journey, you know, and I think also importantly, you know, I had a lot of people along the way that helped me out, right? And really believed in me as well. I think that was one of the challenges that I left, um, that I just struggled with in high school and even in through university days was, like I said, I had a low self-esteem and I had a lot of insecurities back then. But eventually that led into me more believing in myself, right? And then that's when, things started to really change, and one day starting to realize, like you start to look, you stop and you start to look back and you say, well, I accomplished that and I did that and, and I did this other thing and this, and you've done a lot and it's like, and you realize, that you're great and you start telling yourself that you're fucking great, and that you're the best and you believe in yourself and then you keep going and you keep pushing and the more you do that, I find the more that you start to become more confident because you're speaking your truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know you felt a bit of that too, for sure, doing more public stuff and more in the social
Mm-hmm.
space. I mean, a lot of that has helped me in this change as well, getting on
Mm-hmm.
things like this and being able to talk and express myself and be passionate about something that I really love and share time with good people. Man, um, it's incredible, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm out in public, it gives me another vote of confidence as well, right? To speak up and tell what I believe and also get feedback and understand that times I'll be wrong as well. But again, that's part of the journey. But it all comes back to saying, like I said, I know it sounds a bit cliche, but to cut the bullshit, to cut the negative self-talk, to stop telling yourself you're not good and just tell yourself good things and be totally
Mm-hmm.
optimistic and go for it. That's when you start to see change.
And it's funny you should mention the word change because change happens. Change is supposed to happen. Growth is supposed to happen. If you would have approached me, in middle school, I don't think that we would have believed Bill and Ted us. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have like, no, but I'll take some of what you're smoking though. You know what I mean? Like it's a different story, but
Right.
I appreciate that. And honestly, like, my journey hurt people, man. And being addicted to stress and being a chef and just if you watch the show right now, and this, I can't believe I'm plugging this. This is not being told to, but the show on Hulu called The Bear. All right, that is what I went through. Holy shit, is it accurate? The first 5 minutes are stressful, let alone the rest of the. But that's the point. People are like, oh, that creates anxiety. Well, welcome to my world 24/7. And then, when things work out, I'm still waiting to get punked. You know what I'm saying? I'm still waiting to see, like, okay, right, but who's gonna beat me up on the playground, or like, or who's gonna, pull my pants down in front of the class? Like, what's the catch here? Good shit doesn't happen to people like me. However, when you apply Mr. Gary, V's message and kind of guidance, you can see it's effective for other people. I kind of draw some inspiration. Actually, I won't even say kind of. Fuck it. Like I do draw a lot of inspiration by watching you create this like monolithic, fucking monument there in Lisbon and be part of that. It makes me want to be like, yo, man, we're gonna hold it down here until you come back, and it's kind of cool to be able to like, throw deuces and smoke signals across the sea, if you will. But I think that if there's a lesson to be learned, y'all, it's like you said, man. You just tell yourself you can do it. Motivate yourself. Speak that shit into existence. That's the truth. Okay. I I worry. I worry that maybe I can't do this, but if I didn't think that I couldn't do it, then I wouldn't be currently doing it.
Exactly. And I think, like it's always you got to look at, what's the alternative, like why the alternative is to say you can't do it. I mean, come on. Like there's only two. It's not like you usually don't sit on like, oh, maybe I'll figure this out. Like I said, train your mind and give you more of that confidence to then continue to build, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what it's about.
No, man, I appreciate you keeping it down. I appreciate you popping in, bro. Um, Before you go, we were talking about, believing in yourself and kind of talking it, speaking it into existence.
For sure, you know, and I was thinking about something too when you were mentioning that, you know, because but the thing is like for the last, I don't know, whatever, 15 years or so, there was many times where I was doing work or in spots that I didn't enjoy, you know,
Mhm.
and I knew and I would realize it wasn't the path that I wanted to be on, but I was doing it at the time for one reason or another. But I always kept in the back of my head knowing that like, but this needs to change, and it needs to change in the short to midterm. Okay,
Mhm.
until I just kept trying to figure out the next move, you know, that made sense
Right.
while trying different things, and always being persistent with the fact that like I'm not going to give up on myself, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm not going to go work that job that I don't like and just say, even if it pays well, and just be like, okay, I guess this is it, you know, like just
Mhm.
don't give up on yourself, you know, like keep fighting, you know. That's
Mhm.
what I always tell people is, you know, just like just keep fighting. Don't don't give up on yourself, you know. So I think that's to translate that now to your last question there, and you really believe and love what you're doing, then over time, like I said, with the right adjustments and the right
Mhm.
execution, and yeah.
Dot Steve.Arthur.George on Instagram, StephenArthurGeorge@gmail.com, and Stephen Arthur George on LinkedIn. Y'all keep an eye on this dude. You're gonna see more of him popping around, y'all. But that's gonna do it for another edition of the Daily Chronicles. I'll see all y'all tokers, jokers, and smokers on the flip, y'all. Peace.
Thanks for having me.